This video is the part 2 of our lesson in psychology, mind's eye, and metaphysics. We are reviewing the writings of Florence Scovel Shinn, and we are interpreting her writings from the perspective of using the mind's eye or the imagination. And we are making connections to actual psychological principles, which often include the subconscious. We are on the third chapter of Florence Scovel Shinn's book, Your Word is Your Wand. The third chapter covers prosperity, and it goes like this. Man comes into the world financed by God with all that he desires or requires already on his pathway. This supply is released through faith and the spoken word. If thou canst believe all things are possible, then Florence Scovel Shinn gives us an example of a woman who came to her and told her of this woman's experience using an affirmation. After reading her book, The Game of Life and How to Play It, this woman desired a position on the stage. However, she lacked experience, and the following affirmation is the one that she used. It goes like this. Infinite Spirit, open the way for my great abundance. I am an irresistible magnet for all that belongs to me by divine right. And this resulted in a very important part giving her in a very successful opera. The woman said, it was a miracle due to the affirmation, which I repeated hundreds of times. So I'm going to tell you a personal experience with affirmations and with denial. So an affirmation is something that you repeat a lot of times, and you repeat the thought so much that it creates a new belief. So remember that what you believe, your mind is going to start looking for proof of this belief being true. I am covering this book from a realistic perspective, not from a magical, because what I am doing here is tying the reality and not the wishful thinking. I do this with all due respect to everyone who believes in the magic of metaphysics. And this is what I see as the truth. So I am reviewing this in the most realistic perspective that is not wishful thinking. A lot of people review these writings and they give it a lot of magical power. And that's fine. It is your mind, your imagination. You can do whatever it is you want. But just like with me drowning, and how it would be useless to imagine myself that I'm not drowning, that would cause me to die. In that circumstance, I would have to focus on not dying and not on imagining me not drowning. So I'm using the same time to the reality. However, I am applying this from a psychological perspective with a heavy dose of realism. However, I am not eliminating the possibility that things can happen. There is a fine line between negative thinking and reality. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. So I'm going to continue speaking to you about what affirmations do to the subconscious mind. During my experience in life, I have used a lot of affirmations and they have done wonders. And because of my use of affirmations, I have been able to understand how they work. I'm going to start by explaining to you my application of the affirmation that goes like this. Every man is a golden link in the chain of my good. For all men are God in manifestation, awaiting the opportunity given by man himself to serve the divine plan of his life. Bless your enemy and you rob him of his ammunition. His arrows will be transmuted into blessings. When I was living the moment where I was getting gang stalked, I kept saying this affirmation to me. Every man is a link to my own good, and that every experience that I had will serve the divine plan of my life. What this did is that it began making connections through what I was living in that point and opened a new perspective of my reality. And by that I mean that when I was getting gang stalked, instead of feeling that everyone was my enemy, instead of staying resentful, instead of staying moody, and instead of hating everyone, I adopted this perspective and I began seeing every perpetrator of gang stalking as God in manifestation, as a golden link in the chain of my good, which is what led me to this. And let me tell you what this YouTube channel, where I live, my current living situation has become. It has become the divine plan of my life because I have everything. I have a house to live, I have food to eat. Abundance is coming to me via the fact that I am in a place where I can dedicate my life solely to my work and to use all my life experiences, that every single one of those whom I had considered an enemy at one point became God a manifestation, became a lesson, became something that I can transmutate from an arrow from an enemy into a blessing. Because this channel is filled with blessings that were initially shot at me with the intent of being arrows. That is what these affirmations do to you. You have to repeat them so many times that it dives deep into your subconscious mind and it makes millions of connections with every single type of negative event, and it turns the event around and it opens a new perspective, a new way of seeing your life experience. So the affirmation becomes true. Thank you for reminding me of it, because I still feel a little bit of resentment, just a little bit, due to the experience of gang stuff. However, today I'm going to keep repeating this affirmation because it did a really positive change in my life. Now, going back into the reading, my interpretation of this part of Florence Scovel Shinn's book is that this woman, because of her belief in the word, in the affirmation, it stopped her from imagining herself not getting the part in the opera. So this woman kept saying the affirmation, and the affirmation allowed her mind to keep her imagination working and creating. How can I get into this industry? How can I get on a stage? So going back to the book Overachievement by Dr. Don Elliott. Dr. John Elliott says, being realistic is just an excuse for negative thinking. So what is being realistic? Normal people, average people, give themselves limits. But the truth is that when you want to do something, there is always a way. Always. And the truth is that being realistic is negative thinking, because reality in itself has no limits. If I wanted to win a Nobel Prize at this age, most realistic people would be like, that's impossible. And if you try, you probably won't make it. But is the goal really what would make life living? If I tried getting a Nobel Prize and I didn't get it before I died, I would probably live an incredibly exciting life because of all the study, because of all the people that I would have met. The journey in itself would possibly be the most incredible journey ever. And not only that, but it would mean that in order for me to put that goal into my to-do list, I would possibly end up having a job somewhere where I would have never thought I would end up working. I would possibly end up doing amazing things and learning a lot of things, which would be so much more fun and rewarding than being realistic. If I wanted to be realistic, I would probably just get a job at the DMV. And no offense to anyone that works at the DMV, and no offense to those who want to live a simple life. Some people, that is what they want from young. I have met these people, and these people are incredibly happy, and I respect them very much because they have accomplished their goal. But if you are someone like this woman with a particular ambition that seems almost unapproachable, just know that the possibility of you reaching that goal exists. And at the end of the day, reaching for it is going to be much more rewarding than going to a 9 to 5 every day for the rest of your life, from the morning to the evening. And throughout those times, you end up torturing yourself because you're daydreaming of what you really wanted to do in life. Now that is a tragedy. So this woman used the affirmation to stop her mind from imagining her not reaching her goal, and she got it done. Now we're gonna go to chapter 4, which is the chapter of happiness. And this is what Florence wrote. There can be no happiness where there is fear, apprehension, or dread. With perfect faith in God comes a feeling of security and happiness. When man knows that there is an invincible power that protects him and all that he loves and brings him to every righteous desire of his heart, he relaxes all nervous tension and is happy and satisfied. He is undisturbed by adverse appearances, knowing that infinite intelligence is protecting his interests and utilizing every situation to bring his good to pass. Uneasy lies the head that wears a frown. Anger, resentment, ill will, jealousy, and revenge rob man of his happiness and bring sickness, failure, and poverty to their way. Resentment has ruined more homes than drink, had killed more people than war. Then she goes ahead, and Florence tells us the story of a woman who was healthy, happy, and married to the man she loved. The man died and left part of his estate to a relative. The woman was filled with resentment. She lost weight and was unable to do her work. She developed gallstones and became very ill. Then a metaphysician called upon her one day and said, "Woman, see what hate and resentment have done to you. They have caused hard stones to form in your body, and only forgiveness and goodwill can cure you." The woman saw the truth in the statement. She became harmonious and forgiving and regained her splendid health. So I'm gonna tell you something of my experience in life and experiencing hate, experiencing desiring ill will upon others. And is that when you desire revenge, when you desire ill will upon others, you are using your imagination to visualize ill will, to visualize hate, to visualize bad things. And even though you might be visualizing these things towards someone else, negative emotions, resentment, ill will, and anger have an effect on the body. I am not gonna tell you that this woman developed the gallstone because of the resentment, because there is no scientific proof. However, what I can tell you is that being in a negative emotional state will affect everything that you do. It could possibly affect the physiology. Actually, let's study that for a little bit. Let's look. Scientific proof of emotional states causing illness. So I almost forgot. There is evidence, there is scientific evidence of a positive and optimistic outlook in life improving your immune system. Your immune system ability to fight disease. And a negative psychological state is proven to reduce your ability to cope with stress and with fighting infections. This is truly backed up by scientific research. It truly is. I just did a video on that. So the lesson of this chapter is to keep your imagination busy thinking of blessing, thinking of people loving you. Don't keep your mind busy with hate. Only allow your imagination to see good, because in the end, whenever you imagine ill will, whenever you imagine resentment, you are not hurting those people whom you hate. You are poisoning your own body. You're only hurting yourself. This is backed up by scientific research. So stop imagining arguments. Stop imagining vengeance. Stop imagining ill will. Stop thinking of resentment. Stop it, because the only person that is being hurt by those types of thoughts is you. Alright? So we are done for the next two chapters of Florence Scovel Shins. Your word is your wand and the mind's eye. We are making connections and keeping a wishful thinking out of the equation. We are seeing these writings through an eye of realism, and we are understanding Florence Scovel Shins' teaching from a scientific perspective, a realistic perspective, and how my experiences are tied into this, all without wishful thinking, only through truth and actual experiences. All right, thank you so much for watching. This is The Mind's Eye. Have a good evening, or have a good day.